Ladies and gentlemen, you made it. It's October. We are almost 5 full weeks into the school year. Crazy, right? I have to say, I'm a little torn today. On one hand, I am super duper proud of a lot of you who came fully prepared today with your rough drafts, ready to get to work on the next phase of the writer's process. On the other hand, I did not get the pleasure of spending today with a lot of you, almost half of you, because you didn't come with your rough drafts, which I told you were due today, last week. Now, because of that, those of you who are visiting this page today, who weren't a part of our classroom discussion today, better pay extra attention. For those of you who were here, it's a bit of a review. For those of you who weren't, laser focus right now, because you're going to be expected to have your rough draft tomorrow, ready to do exactly what I'm going to explain to you that I explained to the class today and they were able to get started on, okay? So, peer review workshop day. I like to call peer review the connection inspection. Because remember, peer review is your first window in to what your audience is receiving from your writing. That connection. Because remember, that's going to be your purpose at all times. Whether you're persuading, informing, entertaining, or a combination of all three of those things, your ultimate purpose as an author is to get your main idea and your themes across to your reader and make a connection. That's what it is. Remember, we need to test our writing with an audience first, just like we would do if we were spending millions of dollars on a TV show or a movie. At any rate, you came in today, and after I did all of the housekeeping of checking in, and you guys looked over your peer review forms, and I asked you to take out your rubric that I'm going to be grading you on from last week on the 6 traits of writing, and you wrote down your words of the week for week 2, which, by the way, are attached to the bottom of this post. Just click on that little download button at the bottom left of today's post. Okay? They're down there as well. So, in this peer review, I figured I'd give you something to help you along your way, to guide your path as a quality reader of somebody else's work so you can give constructive feedback. Remember, that's our goal always, is to be constructive in this class, to build up and not be destructive and tear down. If I ever see a comment or hear a comment from one person to another that says, "Oh, that sucked. Oh, that was terrible," that's destructive. See, we're all working together for the common goal of lifting up our education. And we're all being courageous and taking steps in sharing ourselves in an attempt to practice the skills that we need to be connective people out in society. And so our response to other people's work ought to be in the same purpose, ought to be in the same light. We want to raise up the level of this class. And we don't want to diminish anybody's best work, because that's what I'm assuming you're handing in is your best work. We want to celebrate that courage, and we want to elevate the level from there. So here's how we do it. You picked up this Writer's Workshop peer review form. I know you can't see it from here, but you can download it from a few days ago. I believe I posted it Thursday of last week, maybe it was Wednesday. If not, I'll post it again tomorrow, because you know your words of the week are at the bottom today. I'll post it again tomorrow, but you should have picked it up on the way into class anyway, so hopefully you're looking at it right now. Now, your Writer's Workshop peer review form begins, and I'll skip the whole reviewer, author, title of piece, genre. You can get that from somebody else, because we all know the genre is the personal narrative, and author, reviewer, that's all. It won't take too much time. So at the beginning I say, and this is the reviewer, you as the reviewer will fill this out for the person who wrote it. Here's what seemed to me to be the main characters, themes, and author's purpose. I gave you a slot for protagonist, theme, and author's purpose. Now, it's important for me as an author, if I write something to give it to somebody else, I want to know what they thought my main character was, what they thought my main idea was, and what they thought the themes and author's purpose were. Because if they get something different out of it than I was intending, that lets me know that I have to shift up what I was doing in order to make sure that I'm getting my purpose across to my reader effectively, they can understand it so that they can make a connection. Remember, it's all about that connection. The next two are pretty self-explanatory, which means you hear them, you read them, you know exactly what I want from you. I give you 3 blanks to fill in 3 moments or lines that were really successful. See, as the reviewer, at certain points you're going to feel more connected to this writer and to the story. You need to identify those moments for the author. And authors, you need to take in those moments, because what we're going to do with those moments that we see where, oh man, those were really effective for my audience, we want to capitalize on what went right there and repeat it throughout our entire piece. Now on the other hand, the next one, these ideas seem like there's information missing that the reader needs to have. Those are 3 points where we, as the authors of our personal narratives, know exactly what we're talking about at all times, because they're stories from our lives. Now, our readers are not in our heads. It would probably get crowded in there if our readers were in our heads, right? So we sometimes tend to leave out information that the reader's like, hang on, whoa, wait a second. I need to know something else here because this didn't make sense to me. This is your opportunity as the reader to pass that along to the author, and as the author to find moments where that understanding is being blocked so that we can connect by including the information that's missing. The next part, I would have liked to know more about this character. There's a blank. And then here's why. I'll give you an example for this one, because it's kind of self-explanatory as well, but I'll give you an example. Remember that story I was making up in class the other day, where I don't just want to see somebody write about football, I want to see somebody write about throwing the football back and forth in the yard to their dad. That's a story. Maybe the person's connection to football is because they used to throw the football back and forth on the front lawn with Dad, and Dad taught him everything he knows about football, or taught me everything I know about football, let's say. Let's put me in the position. And I tell this whole big story about what football means to me, and I only include 2 sentences about my dad. Well, hey, guess what? If the whole reason for writing that was because my dad influenced me to play, and now he's not around to see me play anymore, for whatever reason, I'm going to want to communicate to my reader why my dad was so important and why that made the game so important to me. Right? So as a reader, that might be a place where I missed the connection that I could have had a very meaningful connection to. I missed that information because I could have made such a great connection to you as a reader and as an author. But I missed out on the chance just because I didn't understand why Dad, the character of Dad, was so important to the story. Hopefully that makes sense. Now I flipped over onto the back, you noticed, and in that back section, I laid out for you the 6 traits of writing and left a big space. And I said, make at least 1 constructive comment or suggestion for improvement for each of the following traits of quality writing in this piece. This is where the rubrics that you guys picked up last Thursday, and again, I know you can't see it, but hopefully you still have this sheet of paper. If not, again, maybe I'll just put it in a separate post today and say, here are the peer review forms or whatever. Yeah, I'll probably do that. That'll probably appear above this one in another post. Okay? So what I asked you to do, you notice that we have ideas and content, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions. Those are the 6 traits of quality writing. If you need a refresher on that, go back to your notes. They're there. You've got a nice big explanation, and the rubric should help you remember what all of those things are about. So you've got 5 points, 3 points, 1 point, 5 points, 3 points, 1 point. You are going to give a grade to the author. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 being the best, 1 being needing the most work. And what you're going to do is you're going to give that number, and then you're going to be constructive. You're not going to say, 5, it was good. Well, great, I know it was good. 5 is a great number to get. Why was it so good? An example would be, let's say it wasn't quite a 5 for word choice. Let's say it was a 4. I might say something to make a constructive comment, to raise it to the level of a 5. I might say something like, Well, the words you use really brought me in as a reader, and they really made me want to read more. But I thought that you could have used better descriptive words to describe the park. And I would have been able to get myself into that moment that much better in the story. That's constructive. It's specific, and it's in such a way that we celebrate the success and we boost it a little bit more. Now, maybe somebody didn't write paragraphs in theirs. They just one big block of text. Well, that might receive a very low grade in organization. But if all you say was, it was bad, first of all, you're not going to say that as destructive. Destructive, right? We don't want that. We want constructive. If all you said was, 2, I couldn't follow it, well, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. If you give it a 2, I still don't have any quality information to raise it to a 5 level. Or maybe if I'm like, oh gosh, I'm at a 2, maybe I'll shoot for a 4 in this next edit. Well, I have nothing to go on. But if you're very specific and you say 2, I liked the way your ideas were listed, but I couldn't follow them because there were no paragraphs to lead me from one idea to the next. That's specific. That's constructive. It's building up to that 5. So you're going to do that for each of the 6 traits of writing. Later on, it says, the writer's disposition that you most displayed in this piece was blank. I think this because blank. If you don't remember what the